You're working harder than you've ever worked, and it's making everything worse. Not slowly, not later, right now. Every email you answer at midnight, every decision you make that someone else should have made, every time you step in because it's faster than waiting. You think you're solving problems. You're not. You're teaching the business that it doesn't have to. And 6 months from now, you'll be even more trapped than you are today. There's someone we'll call Gray. Gray runs a business, 20 people, growing. Clients are happy, revenue is up, and Gray is the reason. Not in a visionary way, in a functional way. Gray is the person who makes things happen. Client needs something, Gray handles it. Project stalling, Gray jumps in. Team member unsure, Gray decides. And it works. That's the dangerous part. It works so well that no one notices what's being built underneath. A structure. And the structure is this. The business only functions when Gray is functioning. Here's what's happening. Every time Gray solves a problem, the business learns something. Not how to solve the problem. It learns Gray solves problems. And once that pattern locks in, it doesn't just continue, it metastasizes. More questions route to Gray. More decisions wait for Gray. More things pause until Gray weighs in. Not because people are lazy, because they're rational. Checking with Gray is the safe move. Gray always knows. Gray always has the answer. So why risk being wrong when you can just ask Gray? And every time they ask, the wiring gets stronger. 6 months ago, Gray could have taken a week off. Things would have been fine. Now, 3 days and the operation grinds down. Not because people can't do the work, because they've been trained not to. They've been trained to wait. And the training happened invisibly, one answered question at a time. Here's what this actually looks like. Gray's phone buzzes, 11 p.m. Hey, just want to make sure we're good to send this to the client. It's a simple email. Anyone could have sent it. But they didn't. They waited for Gray. Gray reads it. It's fine. Types back, yeah, go ahead. Takes 30 seconds. But here's what also just happened. That person learned they were right to wait. Their uncertainty was validated. Next time, they'll wait again. And the time after that. And slowly, without anyone deciding it should be this way, Gray becomes the approval mechanism for every decision that person will ever make. Now multiply that across 20 people, across a year, across every small decision, every judgment call, every moment of uncertainty. Gray is now the circuit that closes every loop. And if Gray isn't there, the loops stay open. Gray gets copied on every email now. Not because people want to overwhelm Gray, because if something goes wrong and Gray didn't know, that's a career risk. So Gray gets added to everything. Gray's inbox isn't a tool anymore. It's a surveillance system Gray never asked to operate. 400 messages a week. Maybe 12 actually need Gray, but Gray has to read all 400 to find the 12. That's 6 hours a week just scanning, not working, scanning for work that might need to become work. And Gray can't stop because the one time Gray didn't scan, something slipped, and it cost the business a client. So now Gray scans everything, forever. Here's what Gray tells themselves. It's just a busy season. Once we hire another person, it'll calm down. I just need better boundaries. And maybe that's all true, but that's not the problem. The problem is structural. The business has organized itself around Gray's availability, around Gray's judgment, around Gray's willingness to step in. And that organization is now load-bearing. Hiring another person doesn't fix it, because the new person will just learn the same pattern everyone else learned. When unsure, ask Gray.
Boundaries don't fix it, because the business doesn't have another way to operate. It's built on Gray being there, and you can't just remove the foundation while the building is still standing. Someone on the team has an idea, a good one, could save 6 hours across the whole team. They bring it to Gray. Gray says, "Yeah, do it." 3 weeks later, nothing has happened. Gray follows up. "What happened to that idea?" "Oh, I wasn't sure how you wanted me to start." They weren't waiting for permission. They were waiting for instructions, for a roadmap, for Gray to de-risk it. Because that's what they've learned. Initiative without Gray's blueprint is dangerous, so they don't take it. And the idea dies, not because it was bad, but because the business doesn't know how to move unless Gray moves it. And Gray can only move so many things. Here's what's actually happening. Gray's competence is creating incompetence everywhere else, not because the team is incapable, but because competence requires practice, and they're not getting practice. Every time Gray steps in, they step back. Every time Gray makes the call, they learn their judgment is less reliable than waiting. Every time Gray catches something, they learn they don't need to check as carefully. It's not malicious, it's economically rational. Why develop judgment when Gray's judgment is always available and always free? Why take risk when Gray will absorb it for you? Why think hard when you can just ask Gray? The incentives all point in one direction, towards Gray. 18 months in now. The business is doing well. Revenue is up, clients are happy, no one's quitting. But Gray hasn't taken a full day off in 8 months. Last time Gray tried, they came back to 47 unread messages and 3 decisions that just waited. No one made them. Not because they couldn't, but because making them without Gray felt wrong, felt risky, felt overstepping. So they waited, and the decisions sat there for 3 days. And when Gray came back, Gray made them in 4 minutes, and everyone felt relieved, and the lesson reinforced again. And here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Gray thinks he's building equity. He's not. He's building a job, a 24/7 job where he has to be Gray. If Gray tried to sell this business today, a sophisticated buyer would look at the structure and offer a fraction of what the revenue suggests it's worth. Because they're not buying a business, they're buying the right to work Gray's hours, make Gray's decisions, answer Gray's emails, be Gray. And no one wants to buy that. So the business isn't worth what Gray thinks it is. It's worth what it could operate for without Gray. And right now, that number is close to 0. Here's the thing that sits in Gray's chest, the thing they don't say out loud. This isn't what leadership is supposed to feel like. Leadership is supposed to be about building something that runs. But this doesn't run. It executes, but only when Gray is executing it. The moment Gray stops, everything stops. That's not a business. That's a machine that only works when you're inside it, operating it, manually, forever. And here's what happened. Gray solved problems, real problems, important problems. And every solution taught the business the same lesson. Gray handles this. Taught it so well that now the business knows how to do exactly one thing: wait for Gray. And the cost of that education is showing up now. Gray can't take a week off without the business stalling, can't be unreachable for a day without decisions piling up, can't stop checking email at night without things slipping through. Not because the team is incapable, but because competence was never built. It was outsourced to Gray. And the hardest part? Gray can't stop now. Not without everything falling apart. Not without watching people struggle with decisions they've never had to make. Not without clients getting frustrated by delays that didn't exist when Gray was available. Not without revenue taking a hit during the transition that would be required to retrain an entire organization. Because the business was built on Gray being there, and removing Gray now would be like removing the foundation while the building is still occupied. It doesn't work. Or it works, but the building has to come down first. And no one wants to be inside when that happens.